I heard walk on because I also walked on in school. Nobody recruited me either, so I had to come in and kind of earn my keep. Number one, I appreciate you coming here. You know, get a little break. I've been staring at that screen for a little while, so I get to come and look at some people, so that's awesome. I've been kind of looking at those third mediums today. But the first thing I want to kind of acknowledge, I hope compliance is in here because I'm going to talk about a recruit, one that cost me a lot of money, and they continue to cost me money. They've been on payroll for a long time. That's my wife, Miss Brittany. So if you see her around, you make sure she comes to practice, and she'll have our dog with her. My dog's name is JUCO, like junior college. And that's because when I coached at Awamba Community College, as a junior college, we would have position meetings, and every once in a while, some of the players would need an extra position meeting to kind of get all the information. So I took JUCO to puppy school, and I noticed that he needed some extra time because he wasn't as quite as far along as the other dogs. So that's why we call him junior college or JUCO. Couple more lessons, you know. So we were a little embarrassed, but we got them right, you know. So, but number one, you know, speaking, kind of going back on the game Sunday, kind of started a new rotation of guys. And offensive line preparation is a little unique because the first thing that happens is continuity within the group. You know, there's always an opponent, but you know, a lot of things that happen are usually self-inflicted. So we have to build continuity off the field. So we got to spend a lot of time with each other. Now, it was tough when I first got here, but I've been able to get those guys around each other a lot more to build that trust. And I'm starting to see that trust kind of come to the fruit of what we've been planting the seeds of. So you're starting to see the glory. The Bible talks about when you plant a seed, you know, the tree is the glory. You get to see the fruit of the tree. So we're starting to see that fruit kind of come out the ground as they're building together. And the good thing about it is we got some guys that's going to be together for a while. So I'm really excited about that. You know, we focus mostly on making sure we're not hurting ourselves is kind of the focus right now. But when we're operating together in continuity, that's what I want to be proud of this group because they've done an amazing job when it comes to building that group together, staying together, holding each other accountable, building standards. So I've been very, very excited about that progress and that growth of that group. You know, kind of moving forward as we continue to practice, the number one goal is still building that goal, but also find ways to get depth. You know, that's the unique thing everybody talks about recruiting, you know, you gotta find players. The real coaches are those high school coaches because they always say, well, you gotta develop them and bring them. They met the children when they couldn't even put on a helmet and didn't know what a shoulder pad was and couldn't put on cleats. So that's true development because they introduced them to the game and give them the characteristics to be able to withstand us once they get here because it's a little bit more business-like. So when we talk about development and recruiting and continuity and all those kind of stuff, the high school coaches really started. We get the praise later, you know, and all that kind of good stuff. But they actually teach those, kind of instill those tools in. My job is to make sure they understand how to do that with each other. So this camp, we really focused on building depth within the group. I get a lot of questions about, well, who's going to play guard and tackle, and are you recruiting them as a center, and all these kind of unique things. What we do is we tell them that they play all 5 positions. You know, the center is a little bit unique. And what I did was I learned how to basically build depth by allowing other guys to go with the one group. Usually you have your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, and things like that. And I got a guy like Zane who never went against the 1s until he gets that reward. So now what we're doing is we're starting to rotate those guys within 1s, 2s. So when we lose, like in the game against Notre Dame, we lost 2 guys. And we had to put somebody in, but those guys felt comfortable with going in because they went against probably our D-line that does a really good job. So they were able to get that reps and that experience and really learn how to operate. So I think that was out of all things, I was proud of that because we were able to get some guys in there and not have a huge drop-off, which was a huge problem the year before. So I think I became a better coach in understanding that, hey, it's not just 1s, 2s, 3s. You understand? Everybody has to be able to go in there and operate. So that's the most thing I'm proud about with the group. As far as moving forward, even past that, I believe you're going to be excited as they continue to grow and continue to get this work in, what kind of group they're going to become as we're moving toward the future. Now, I heard a lot of horror stories about the offensive line. When I got here and I said, usually the offensive line is like we were in Bible study and they talked about leadership. And Clint was in there, he talked about Moses. He said, we're going to talk about leadership, we're going to talk about Moses. That's kind of the easiest thing to go to. Then he said, well, no, not really. Then he talked about the 2 people that assisted Moses that people really don't talk about. And one of the guys was Caleb. you look in the Bible, there's a guy named Caleb. And Caleb was like the behind-the-scenes guy. He was the one that was behind the scenes. He was actually with Joshua. He was one of the spies that said, yes, we can go take the town. We can go take the city. But a lot of people don't get that attention from Caleb. And the offensive line kind of takes that role because he was an important role in that. And he's kind of behind the scenes. So nobody really talks about Caleb, but he is just more leadership than anybody else. And I thought that really applies to the offensive line group at most places. What I love about Florida State, I believe that offensive line position gets a lot of attention. And our guys love that. So we get to kind of be the forefront sometimes. We get the praise, we get the falls, all of that. And I like that because that puts it on a group and not an individual. So as we continue to go forward, I love that. Because we have a unit. It's just not one guy, two guys, this guy, this guy. As long as there's a unit, because we're dealing with college students, that makes it easy to get that confidence and grow within the group and not an individual. So please continue on that. And I can't wait to see the fruit of the work those guys have been put in. So I'm going to make this a little easy. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes.
How speaking of the two that got hurt, DLT and Gibbons, how are they doing?
Both good to go. You know, so we'll be back. They both practiced today. They were good to go, and I think, you know, the rep count, it's a physical game. You know, we were able to rush the ball pretty well. So, you know, but they were good to go. They both practiced full today.
Seems like a lot of snaps were going to the right of the quarterback.
Oh, Lord.
Started happening early in the game. Is that something you can adjust his, or just move the quarterback over half a step?
Something to get to the right a little bit. No, you know, those unique moments, you know, I always tell my guys, everybody does well in drill work. You know, everybody does well. If I go out there and say, hey, we're going to work snaps. We have perfect snaps all the way through. Hey, we're going to go out here, we're going to work base blocks. And these coaches know kid does it perfectly every time. But to recreate the moment, when you're on a drive, you're going to play 9 of a drive that started from the -20. And you're going and you're rolling. And now a moment comes where you got to snap the ball and go reach the 2-eye, who's a really good player, and you're trying to get a jump on him because he's been jumping the count all day. That is the time you have to focus and go back to your preparation. So recreating that moment. So what we're doing is trying to recreate those moments at the end of practice. When it's all on the line and we put a little wager on, I'm not going to talk about the wagers. It has something to do with getting down and getting back up. I think they call them up downs. If you can complete this in the moment, we're probably going to get some better production with this. So, but yeah, we got to do a better job in the moment of completing our task.
Coach, what I really noticed toward the end of the game, it looked like Notre Dame was starting to get a little bit of gas, and you guys were really picking it up on the run game. That was really impressive.
Yeah, I believe, you know, Coach Duenville does a good job of preparation. You know, we run, we practice. We have been out to practice, we roll. Not much time in between. It's very efficient, and we're attacking. And also, we're blessed with the Tallahassee heat. You know, we went up in South Bend, you know. So we took full advantage of that. It's just more of things we can control. Like I told them, we watch more practice film during the day than opponent film because the opponent is faceless. If we eliminate things that hurt us, we'll be fine. And we'll make the plan to make sure you're in the best position for opponents. So I believe, you know, our kids are seeing that and seeing how they can go grab something if they just really concentrate on themselves.
Is there any difference in game plan depending on which quarterback is back there? I mean, along the lines of, you know, when Milton came in later,
yep.
Is there any different as far as for the offensive line group, how they, is it just, hey, this is what your job is?
No, offensive line is more conceptually. You know, so, you know, who's back there, you know, jet protection or, you know, 6-man protection is still going to be the same for us. You know, there is some things that go with play calling and for, because the offense is built to show the strength of players. So that happens to us, but the line just understands the assignment and the concept at hand, what we have to get done when the play gets sent in to us. You know, we're fortunate we didn't have to look at signals, so he just tells us. So they probably just realize that the voice changed, that's all. They probably like, who is, oh. They're not even paying attention to that. They peek at me to make sure I ain't, you know, back to cursing.
So obviously we dominated in the fourth quarter, everybody knows that. How many times did it come up either after the game or during that time when we were down 18 that the mat drills we did 6 months, 8 months prior, getting ready for this fourth quarter, so we are, like you just said, 100% while they're a little bit dragging behind.
No question. And the reality is, Coach Norvell brought him up at the start of the fourth quarter. He brought him up right before overtime, and he reminded them of that. He reminded them of this is why we play the game. And it's a part of the process. He also said some other things, talking about the outcome and things like that. But the most important thing he said in reference to that was, don't leave with regret. We're in coaching, we always talk about the process, and that's real. The result, we're in a result-based business. The scoreboard is there for a reason. But at the end of the day, you have to trust the process of what you're doing. And if you did it all, be proud in that. Now, could we have done a lot better? Ain't no question, because the fourth quarter showed that we're capable. But I like the fact that they did trust their training and believe. And that's something that it's mental. There's no training. You don't know when that's going to come. We worked them as hard as we did before, but now they're starting to understand the why, so it's been a blessing.
So they played, it was just such a great game, so a lot of fun to experience. How do you guys as coaches keep them focused? Now, we could have beat Notre Dame, we were right there, it was a great game. The energy at the end of the game was better than it was at the beginning, which is hard to imagine. How do you keep them focused to not have a letdown with the Jacksonville State, when mentally they might be saying, oh, we were there with the top 10 team, we're going to roll these guys, when we all know we've seen us play down in the past.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how do you keep them focused? How do you feel about this group of kids?
Right. Well, basically, it goes back to reminding them who they chose to play for. This is Florida State, and it's a little different. Whereas, yes, everybody understands the process to get better. There's never a more victory. You are here now. The process and the result, the things we saw, we got to get corrected, but we also praise the good within it. So they were getting able to get some praise because we did see some change that we didn't see. And if you don't reward that, they won't know that they're doing a good job. So you have to reward that, but also where you are, is a standard. So we're gonna, that's the standard of it is excellence. So we didn't play our best, so we got to go find our best game. So just keep reminding them of that. And what I liked about practice today, it was up-spirited. They knew that. And that's how you usually judge it. How we come out to practice after, because this is a short week. They got Monday up, we had that one day for us to prepare and make sure we put them in the right position. And then we hit it hard. Today was a Tuesday practice. We talking inside, pods. We did good on good, team compete. We did, goal line, short yardage, all of it. And we had a good response. And that's how you usually tell that they moved on, because you can't let the last one affect the next one at all. And that's really us. How we come out, how we start talking to them, how we act. If you can't go out there and say, that's the same mistake you made, no. Get it corrected and move on to the future, so that way it doesn't lag behind, because that gets you, I can't say what I want to say, that gets you beat. In the back.
Yes, sir. For the majority of the staff and a lot of the team, you haven't experienced a rock and dope Campbell. Could you talk about that?
Well, just like we try to tell the kids to avoid the distraction, I have to remind myself of that. This is a special place, and when I walk out for warm-ups, I had to put that hat just a little bit lower. I'm like, all right, Atkins, you get your damn mind right too. You got to get right and keep these guys coaching. So amazing. It's definitely an advantage. That's I've seen. We've had, since I've been here 2 years, we've had top 10 teams come here on home games. And that's definitely an advantage that's unheard. I have never experienced. That was my first time experiencing it. I played in big stadiums, but none as passionate and as loud as I heard that one. So I got to experience that. So that's definitely an advantage, and even more fortunate to be here. And that's one thing I say about me and my staff and everything out. Like we know we're fortunate, no matter the situation. We're fortunate to be at this college football. This is when Florida State is, when we do what we're supposed to do, there's no better place. So just to experience that taste of what it could be consistently if we take care of business was unbelievable.
Two more.
Oh, what?
Oh,
I'm gonna get you. Come on.
I just had a comment and a question. We noticed some really nice new benches on the sideline with air conditioners, it looked like, behind them on our side, but we didn't see any benches over on the Notre Dame side.
That's a good point.
As my wife says to me when I request certain things, that's a personal problem.
great adjustments because we looked great in the end. But what was happening and what did you change from the first couple series when they were just getting there?
Yeah, Coach Freeman, defense coordinator, does a good job. You know, he switched up some things, and it wasn't quite what we expected, to be honest. So we had to kind of get our bearings down and find our niche that fit our players, and Corbin kind of broke that open for us once we kind of saw the blood and kind of hit on it. But that was mostly of it. You know, it was a little different, so we had to settle down, stop forcing it, and also you got, you know, Robert Scott, first time in the environment, really freshman. You got, you know, Maurice at the time. I mean, a lot of them guys, you know, Gibbons, they had never seen that environment either. So there's nerves, there's anxiety, there's all that. So I think once we settle, and that goes into my demeanor on the sideline, breathe, you're okay, you know, and kind of calm. And once that heart rate came down, I thought they started executing fairly well.
I would think that those recruits that were there watching that game that got to go, this is where I want. That is negative.
If they're smart. That's important too. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Very spirited, you know, and I think they're hungry. I think they when you see that kind of crowd and you're playing, naturally, you know, just like the high school players that got up here, you want to put them on a show, you know, and they're anxious for it, you know, and they're hungry for it. So our players have a lot of emotion, you know, they really, and sometimes we have to control that emotion. That's what we're here for, but they really want to impress. You know, they really do. You know, they love the crowd. They're all so, man, they want that attention, that yes, they want that this is why I came here type of feeling to have that success. So that's why, you know, we don't mind putting the work in and, you know, and going through the woes. And for some, you know, some players, they get so emotional, you're like, not that way emotional, come this way emotional, you know, kind of showing them that direction, and that makes the job fun. But no, it was very emotional, very high-spirited, a lot of competition. You know, that's one thing, you know, when you run out, and you might not have had the camp you needed, so you're not running out there when we snap the ball first, there's usually I got to get my stuff together. You know, I like this towel, but I want to, you know, go across those lines.
Great, thank you. One last one.
How often were they blitzing us?
Say it one more time.
How often were they blitzing us?
Very early, they did more simulated pressures, but they would get to bring different ways to bring 4 to 5 people. You know, that's kind of their style of defense, to bring more pressure. And I think that's why when we started tempoing the run game, that really kind of settled it in a little bit, because that makes it a little bit difficult to do. So I thought that early on it did complete some inside pressure, but once we settled and were able to establish the run, that's the all equalizer in the game.
So who's starting at quarterback this week?
That's probably.
I'm gonna start a podcast. I'm gonna start giving inside information per subscriber. Thank y'all.
What a great first time visit to the Tallahassee Quarterback Club.